Princess Anne was standing right there when it happened. She saw the whole thing. Camilla's grandson being escorted out of Windsor Castle by security, not asked politely to leave, not quietly redirected, physically removed from the premises with a clear and unmistakable message about who belongs inside those walls and who does not. And Anne, the hardest working member of the royal family, the woman who completed 478 official engagements in 2025 alone, the woman who has been a fixture of royal life since the 1970s, did absolutely nothing. No intervention, no quiet word with William, no attempt to smooth things over the way royal family members are trained from birth to do in uncomfortable situations. Just watching. And according to reports, what passed across her face was something that observers described as silent approval. When Princess Anne, of all people, does not step in to soften a moment like this, you need to pay very close attention. Because Anne does not do things by accident. Her silence is never neutral. In this family, silence is a form of communication. And what she communicated by standing there and watching without objection tells you more about where power inside the British monarchy is actually moving than any official palace statement ever could. Welcome to the Marquee Report. This is the story of what just happened at Windsor and what it reveals about the monarchy William is already building before he is even king. Let's establish the facts as reported because precision matters here and the details are significant. Camilla's grandson was at Windsor Castle, one of her 5 grandchildren from her first marriage to Andrew Parker Bowles. These are private citizens, no royal titles, no HRH prefix, no official role in the monarchy. Camilla has 5 grandchildren in total, Eliza Gus and Louis Lopes through her daughter, Laura and Lola, and Freddie Parker Bowles through her son Tom. For years, these individuals have been part of the extended royal social circle, attending events, showing up at family gatherings, included in Christmas celebrations, treated at least publicly as welcome participants in the life of the royal household. That inclusion was deliberate and strategic. When Charles and Camilla first married, the palace worked carefully to integrate her family into royal life, partly to reduce public skepticism, partly to normalize Camilla's presence within the institution. And to be fair to everyone involved, it worked. Camilla went from being called the most hated woman in England to being crowned queen in Westminster Abbey in May 2023. That is one of the most remarkable personal rehabilitations in modern royal history. But William has apparently decided something that nobody has stated out loud until now. There is a difference between rehabilitating a person and permanently embedding that person's extended family into the fabric of the institution. And that difference, quiet and unspoken for years, just became visible in the form of security personnel at Windsor Castle and one of Camilla's grandsons being shown the door. This did not happen in a vacuum. The Windsor removal is the most dramatic and visible point in a pattern that has been building for months. In 2024, Camilla's family attended the Christmas celebrations at Sandringham for the first time. It was treated as a significant moment of inclusion, a signal that they were being welcomed fully into the royal fold. Then in December 2025, it was announced that Camilla's 2 children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes, would not be joining the King and Queen for Christmas at Sandringham. Tom confirmed it publicly. The official explanation was that the gathering was more private and family-focused, partly because Charles was managing his cancer treatment. But here's the detail that tells the real story. Beatrice and Eugenie attended Sandringham that Christmas, despite their father Andrew being stripped of his titles in late 2025. They chose loyalty to the monarchy over their disgraced father, and they kept their seat at the table. Camilla's children did not attend at all. So when the palace describes a gathering as family-focused, it appears they mean the Windsors specifically. Not Camilla's family, not the Parker Bowles branch, the Windsors. That Christmas exclusion plus the Windsor removal creates a timeline that is very difficult to misread. This is not one awkward incident. This is deliberate, gradual, escalating redefinition of who counts as inner circle and who does not. And the person doing the redefining is the future king, operating with increasing confidence, and apparently the quiet backing of Princess Anne. To understand why William would make a move this direct, you need to understand what he is building, because he has been remarkably consistent about it for years. William wants a slimmed-down, efficient monarchy, a tight core group focused on public service with clear constitutional roles and maximum public legitimacy. He is not interested in maintaining a sprawling court full of extended family members and peripheral figures whose connection to the crown is personal rather than institutional. You can see this philosophy in who appears on palace balconies during Trooping the Color, in who gets invited to which gatherings, in which family members are positioned close to the working center of the monarchy. He has been consciously and deliberately curating the public face of the institution for years. The Andrew situation crystallized this. Andrew's links to Jeffrey Epstein, the catastrophic BBC Newsnight interview, the refusal to cooperate with American authorities. William was reportedly furious not just about Andrew's behavior, but about how slowly the palace reacted. He wanted swift, decisive action, and he eventually pushed Charles to strip Andrew of his royal duties and titles in late 2025. Here is the logic that follows from that. If William is willing to make that call about a blood royal, a prince born into the family with decades of royal service behind him, the calculation about Camilla's non-royal grandchildren who hold no official position is significantly easier. They are not working royals. They are not in the line of succession. They are not constitutionally significant. They are connected to the monarchy exclusively through their grandmother's marriage to a king. And in William's monarchy, that connection is not going to be sufficient. Here is where this story gets layered in ways that go well beyond institutional strategy, because you cannot fully separate William's approach to Camilla's family from the history that shaped his understanding of who she is and what her presence cost his mother. Publicly, William and Camilla have maintained a functional and apparently cordial relationship for years. They found common ground during the Andrew crisis, both pushing for decisive action. They have appeared together at official events with the kind of professional composure the institution demands. But Diana described her marriage as crowded, and William was old enough when his mother said that, old enough to understand exactly what crowded meant. He watched his mother suffer through it. He watched the marriage collapse. He saw the headlines, heard the whispered conversations at family gatherings where certain names were not supposed to be spoken out loud. That experience does not disappear because decades pass and official portraits are posed for together. You can learn to be civil. You can develop a functional working relationship built on mutual institutional necessity. But the fundamental emotional architecture of that relationship is always going to be shaped by what came before. In 2025, reports emerged that Camilla was uncomfortable with the amount of attention William and Catherine were receiving from the palace. There were suggestions she felt sidelined as the institutional machinery shifted focus to the Wales family and their future. And looming over all of this is the transition that will eventually come. When Charles passes, Camilla becomes Queen Dowager. Her household budget changes. Her access to royal life changes. Her position changes. Everything that made her central, Charles's authority, Charles's protection, Charles's insistence that she be treated as queen, evaporates. And who decides what comes next? William. The same William who was 14 years old when his mother gave that Panorama interview. Now let's talk about Anne, because her presence in this story is the detail that elevates it from palace drama to institutional statement. Anne completed 478 official engagements in 2025 at 74 years old. That is more than one per day every day of the year. She has known Camilla for decades. They moved in the same equestrian circles long before Charles and Camilla's relationship became public. She attended their wedding in 2005. She has maintained a respectful, functional relationship with her sister-in-law throughout. But Anne is also deeply loyal to the royal institution itself above any personal relationships within it. She witnessed the damage Charles's affair did to the monarchy, Diana's public suffering, the strain on William and Harry as children. She has never spoken publicly about any of it. She just works harder than everyone else. So when reports indicate Anne was present during the Windsor removal and offered what is described as silent approval, that is not a casual detail. Anne does not do things by accident. People who have worked closely with her describe someone who does not engage in palace intrigue and does not waste energy on things that do not matter to the institution. If Anne thought William was out of line, she would have made her views known, privately, firmly. She is not someone who stays quiet when she believes something is wrong. The fact that she did not intervene, that she watched and according to reports approved, tells you that in her view, the institution comes first, and what William did served the institution. In the royal world, that kind of silent alignment carries enormous weight. Here is the final detail that makes this story land with the force it has among people who understand royal symbolism. William and Catherine have made Windsor their home. They moved there. They are building their household there. They are creating their own center of gravity, separate from Buckingham Palace. Windsor is not just where they live, it is where they are constructing the operational and symbolic foundation of their future reign. Windsor Castle is the oldest and largest occupied castle in the world. It has been a royal residence for nearly 1,000 years. It survived the English Civil War, the abdication crisis, the Blitz. It is where Queen Elizabeth spent her final years, where she is now buried. Windsor carries 1,000 years of accumulated royal authority. By removing Camilla's grandson from Windsor, specifically by having security escort him out of that particular space, William was not just enforcing a boundary for one afternoon. He was making a statement about ownership, about belonging, about who gets to exist within the future of the institution. He was saying clearly and symbolically, this space is mine, and you do not belong in it. For Camilla's family, that statement is significant regardless of how diplomatically it might eventually be explained. The message has been sent, and royal families communicate through messages far more reliably than through words. Here is where everything stands right now. William has physically enforced a boundary around Windsor Castle against a member of Camilla's extended family. Princess Anne witnessed it and offered silent approval. Camilla's children were absent from Sandringham at Christmas, while Andrew's daughters were present. The palace machinery is visibly shifting focus and resources toward the Wales family and their future. Charles, at 77, is managing cancer treatment and increasingly focused on his own legacy. And the transition that everyone knows is coming is apparently already underway, just ahead of schedule and more visibly than anyone expected. This is not a coup. This is not a dramatic confrontation. It is something more significant, the natural, inevitable process of one reign winding down and another preparing to begin, playing out with unusual visibility because the modern monarchy operates in a glass house where every gesture gets photographed, analyzed, and debated in real time. Camilla's grandchildren are the first to feel this shift in a visible, public way. They will almost certainly not be the last. The future king has decided who belongs in the institution he is building, and he is not waiting for permission to act on that decision. Windsor has stood for 1,000 years. The future king has decided who is welcome inside its walls. And everything that just happened suggests he is entirely comfortable with that decision. This has been the Marquee Report. Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss what comes next. See you on the next one.